BNN Live studios in Eggleston Square, where tonight on the Boston Neighborhood Network, well, we bring you a two-part show. First up, an inspiring idea that was started some years ago, and it's been germinated and flowered, and tonight the founder of Greatest Minds and one of his mentees, I think that's fair to say. We're talking about Chip Greenidge, and we'll be talking with him about how he has worked to empower and engage young people and show them the virtues of higher education so they can become leaders of their communities. Then in the second half, we'll shift back to more familiar terrain, Boston politics. Joining me, former State Senator Dianne Wilkerson. We'll talk with her about her recent comeback attempt, and also about a new initiative she has launched. It's called Contemperations. It's talking about reparations for Black and African American people. All that and more tonight on Talk of the Neighborhood. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Hey, Chip Greenidge, welcome to Greatest Minds. I'm glad to have everybody here.
My name is Grace Joannica Warrenly. I go to Beaver Country Day School. I'm a senior and I'm looking into medicine, being a pediatric surgeon. So I love theater. I was just in a play yesterday, as well as playing soccer and just doing work in my community.
My name is Jordan. I'm 17. I go to Cathedral High and I want to be a psychiatrist. Outside of school, I play four sports. Well, played four sports. I play basketball, tennis, volleyball, and I run track.
Hi, I'm John Dale Smith Young. I go to EMK Academy. I like to be a nurse. We work with Harvard and Brigham and Women's, so that's what I'm really into.
Hi, my name is Christian. I'm 16. I go to Boston Latin Academy, and my career goals would be like business oriented, like going into like the business field and stuff like that. I play soccer, basketball. I like sports.
My name is Madison Williams Casey. I am 17. I'm a senior at Prospect Hill Academy, and my career goals are to become a mental health counselor or therapist for underrepresented children in low-income communities. I enjoy playing volleyball. I also like to play golf and, volunteer when I can.
And that's just some of the people involved with Greatest Minds. And tonight in this first half, the founder and director of Greatest Minds Boston is joining us, as well as one of his mentees. I think that's fair to say. We're talking about Chip Greenidge and Joshua Jean Charles. Am I saying that right? I got that right. Nice to have you both here.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be back.
Nice to be back. Nice to have you here. Well, for our viewers, and you can see, obviously you're inspiring a lot of people, but Tell our viewers that aren't familiar with Greatest Minds how it got started, what was the inspiration for it, and why you? How did you? What was the? How did you get inspired?
Yeah, definitely. The first thing I want to say is that Boston is an amazing city to grow up because one thing, we have a lot of colleges and universities. And that's one thing. I went to a lot of college programs when I was growing up at Boston University, Northeastern, Harvard University. So
your family's originally from Cambridge, right?
Originally from Cambridge and Roxbury. And so I had those great opportunities. And so Greatest Minds was about bringing the next generation to be able to have those same opportunities. So it's about, a lot of us are African-American alumni from historically black colleges and universities, but also from the local area that are mentors. And we realize it's important for us to be role models because you can't be what you can't see. And so that's what the basic premise is about: mentoring, volunteering, and participating. And that's what we wanted to show young people, that if I can do it, you can do it too. And so we've been going strong since 2008. You know, we really started right after the DeVal Patrick arose about getting more people involved in the civic process.
And all of a sudden the light went on and said, I've got a great idea.
I got the greatest idea. There you go.
Got to get that
and
right.
so we originally met up at the Hibernian Hall. There's 300 of us. We had we brought the generations together. We brought Mel King, Gene McGuire.
Gene McGuire, poor thing.
Dead right now.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No,
You know, really, we hope her speedy recovery.
Yeah.
But we brought Ken Guscott. We brought Charlotte Gore-Ritchie, many different people together just to talk about the issues, but also brought the next generation in to have leadership. And the quick thing about it is, in 2008, there are some people that were thinking about running for office. Ayanna Presley was in that meeting. Tito Jackson was in that meeting. Felix Arroyo Jr. was in that meeting. Carlos Enriquez was in that meeting. Lots of them. And so we wanted to be the kind of people to kind of be that groundswell to say, when they came to us and said, I'm thinking about running for office. So we're really proud of that to be the stepping stone. But also, you know, we're waiting for brothers like this young man from Jeremiah Burke, Joshua, to jump right in as well.
How did you get involved with Greatest Minds, Joshua?
Well, you know, one of the staff that worked at the Burke, you know, he knows Chip, and so he recommended me that job, you know, the internship. So I was like, you know what, man, it sounds cool. You know, I get to interact with, you know, other people from my community. You know, we got to do a lot of things as well. You know, we got to go out.
I saw some of the food. My God, I hope you got some of that. My God.
We lived in Soleil Restaurant. Big up to Cheryl Strotter. I mean, that was our place. Our feeding place, right?
What else did you do?
So we also, we was involved in community. You know, we also went to other black-owned businesses, black-owned. Like we went to a farm in Mattapan. You know, a black-owned farm, as a matter of fact. So that was pretty cool. We went to conferences. You know, we went to the Harvard conferences through Chip. So we went through a whole bunch of things. We went to the walk fair, I think it was, on Fields Corner. Yeah, we went to that as well. So you know, we did a lot of things. You know, and I loved it because you know I didn't know, you know, there was that many like black involvement in our communities. You know, and it surprised me, and I loved it. So.
What were you thinking of doing? What year in school are you?
Yeah, I'm a senior.
You're a senior.
Yeah,
sure.
At what school?
Burke, at the Jeremiah Burke.
Jeremiah Burke High School, yes, in Dorchester.
Yeah.
So what were you thinking about doing before, and has it changed? Are you thinking of doing anything different since getting involved in Greatest Minds?
Definitely, you know, and because Chip, you know, he's involved with a lot of HBCUs as well. So just the thought of, you know, wow, maybe I want to go to HBCU after college, you know, and I mean, after high school. So I think that's what really interests me, you know, even going through Chip's program.
Well, there you go. And Chip, you went to Morehouse?
I went to Morehouse.
Right.
I went to Harvard University. I'm working on my PhD right now. Yep, and I'm also at Harvard right now as a visiting fellow at the Ash Center at the Kennedy School.
How did that come about?
Oh my God, I applied.
Were you surprised?
I mean, it was a homecoming.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I
I was in Atlanta for a while, but I missed Boston and I wanted to get back, and you know. I really left right after those 2013-14 snowstorms.
Yeah, I don't
Remember
blame
those
you.
days?
Yes, I do.
And so I'm going somewhere hot. I was going to go to Boston College or BU, then the Northeastern. I said, let me get out of here. But
And then you forgot.
but times have changed. You know, Mayor Menino was mayor and he passed.
Yeah.
We have several mayors since then.
my gosh.
It's a new wave. Michelle Wu's out there. You know, it's a very different leadership style she has.
Yeah.
And so it's really interesting how, you know, people are changing and listening, and the council's totally different as well.
How has that changed your approach to, you know, whether it's just recruitment or what? Obviously, you have many more role models now to point to and say, hey, you know.
Can you imagine there was like, you know, maybe there was Charles Yancey one time on the council, and there was also Maureen Feeney as the only woman on the council.
Yes.
And fast forward to 2022, it's a whole different ballgame. There's lots of women and people of color actually there, and so it's a different kind of feeling. Where I saw a couple council meetings where, you know, people just stood up and said, "Listen, I'm sick of this. This is the way I feel, and I got backup now to be able to push forward." So it's very healthy, and I'm really excited that we were able to get the young people involved in the process, letting them see, because, you know, COVID, they've been inside, and I remember I was saying we're doing stuff.
Stir crazy there. Did you get Joshua?
Yeah, it was the quarantine, man. It was crazy. I was eating a lot of food though.
Well,
How tall are you, Josh?
I'm like 6'3", 6'4". So.
Just remember, I'm taller than you.
yeah,
Right.
you're giving it your.
I know.
Yeah, who knows? If you may be looking down on you.
But exactly. But that was it. I wanted, and they know, they rolled their eyes at me the whole time. I said, we're meeting in person.
Yeah.
We're meeting in person. We're going here.
Yeah.
Because they've been used to being inside. But, you know, we also were able to go to the open streets in Roxbury. Remember that?
Yeah.
Where we went and met Michelle Wu and all them and had a great time being outside with people. And they, you know, I think when they said, "Oh, what are we doing?" then the next time they got there, they were out there dancing and singing and having a great time with everybody. So that's it. We want to, you know, get people back into being with each other, because a lot of times, as you guys know, this generation, they're going to be on their phones.
That's right.
And that's the way they communicate. But I wanted to get in front of each other. Can you talk about some of the game nights?
Yeah, well, what do you do? What kinds of, how do you engage them? I mean, you know, young people are a little different now than they might have been a few years ago.
So what we would plan is, so we would get together, you know, we would talk about the different interests, like that teenagers and, you know, around our age, around our community that would be interested in doing, and then we would plan an event. We was located at Revix Labs, and then we would have these like events where like game nights. We would have game nights. We would bring board games. You know, we bring food, music, and anybody can come. You know, friends, family would come, and then you would just eat. You know, have a good time.
Tell
play
some of the
games.
games. Sorry.
Yeah.
I bought tons of Slinkies.
Talk about going back.
I bought them. I put them, and they were playing. You know, Rubik's Cube,
all
and everyone's just touching and playing. And also, I think several TikToks were on there. I think we're gonna get him on the TikTok.
TikTok. We should get on TikTok.
Well, so how many kids do you have in the program now? And
I think this summer we had over 50.
Wow.
I know, and they just kept on. We kept on recruiting and recruiting, because we kept on saying someone would come in the door, and we're very much like a black church. When say we don't have enough seats, we always pull up another one. Am I right? Friends would come in and say, "I don't have a job," and we'll say, "We'll find you a place." So you know, we're very community based, just like you know, those older places that we used to always go to as a kid, Roxbury Multi-Service Center, Freedom House. Those are the places where I grew up.
Right.
You know, Margaret Fuller House in Cambridge. Those are places where I grew up. And there's always open door policy.
well, you've seen a lot since you first started. How have your mentees changed? These young people that you.
You know what? I think.
Are they more engaged? Are they? Do they have grander visions? Do they? How do you?
That's a great question.
And how do you deal with that?
Oh my God! I think the biggest thing right now, which is going on, is that these young people that have been through COVID are fearless. They are.
Right.
They're able to adapt quickly compared to their college student predecessors. Right. And so these kids have been inside from 8th, 9th, and 10th grade. And so they're able to think things through, be able to okay, we're going to do this, and they're able to calculate and get it done compared to the 21s and the 22-year-olds that kind of freeze and say, I don't know what I'm doing. So we would throw a lot of stuff at them, and they would just get it done.
Yeah.
So I was just very impressed with that.
And with the idea being, you hope all these young people go on to higher education or different fields?
Oh, definitely.
Any...
I know you're going to have Dianne Wilkerson on
Sure.
right after, is that, she's been out there with several other people to say this $8 per African American,
Oh, yeah,
compared to $240,000 is something. Yeah, and so, I want to make sure that Josh and his colleagues are able to compete in the job market. We have Kendall Square, which is the most, they called it, Bain and Company called it the most creative square mile in the universe.
Right. And
You know what I mean?
Here it is in your backyard, our backyard.
Our backyard. So why aren't more kids in Cambridge, Roxbury, and Dorchester getting those opportunities? Why are they running to India? Why are they running to China? You know what I mean? We have people right around it. So that's what I'm really about, and hoping that we can really bring those opportunities about.
Yeah. Josh, what do you think about doing? You want to go to college? Have any idea what kind of field of study you're? We were listening to all these young people on the video there, but.
I'm really interested in architecture. Building things. Building. Everybody always needs a house. Everybody always needs something. Place to stay. So why not? Why not design it? So yeah.
Well, there's a big need for, especially housing. There's not enough of it, and I think that's one of the challenges in the future. And of course, Mayor Wu has been talking about it. Again, the organization, the program, the project. I'm not sure how you reference it.
We are all those things.
Yeah.
All right.
It's called Greatest Minds in Boston, and is it? Just Boston, or is
it's
it?
also in Atlanta. So I've
in
also got a large crew in Atlanta at Georgia State and Morehouse. And so it's great because, Atlanta is known as the Black Mecca, and Boston is known as the white Mecca. So it's great to be able to exchange ideas and share resources. I got a lot of students from Atlanta saying, I want to come to school to Boston. And I have Boston students saying, hey, I want to go to school at the HBCUs and Morehouse and Spelman. So I'm trying to figure out what kind of synergy that we can start doing to build that kind of network.
Yeah. And is Harvard helping you? Now,
of course.
They got you as a fellow now. What has that meant to your organization?
It's been great.
Be able to tap into some additional resources?
Definitely. This summer, I've really pushed with several faculty members and students there. We were able to house 60 students to come visit Harvard for the day.
Wow.
And so they had a blast. Yeah. They met with professors. They talked about race, class, and gender and issues, and everyone left with a Harvard certificate.
Ooh, baby. Yeah, I like
Put that on the job resume. As my dad always says, Harvard has never heard anyone's resume. I don't care what job it is.
Well, and your inspiration for this, I know your family, your parents were always very active as well. Yeah. So, they must be very proud of you, and as must your family for being involved. And I'm going to thank you both for coming in. Again, Chip Greenidge, the founder, director of Greatest Minds Boston and Atlanta, I guess, and Joshua Jean Charles.
Yes, nice to meet you.
Thanks so much for.
And now we're in the virtual world, so we're everywhere.
And for people that want to find out more about Greatest Minds, how can they reach you?
Definitely. www.gminds.org.
Fantastic.
All right. Right in the back of your shirt. No, not on this one. Not in the back of this one.
Right in front of
What size are you? I got to make sure we get you.
I think I'm getting closing in on extra large, so I'm sorry to say. But anyway, thank you both for coming in.
Thank you so much.
It's good to be here. When we come back with more of Talking to Neighborhoods, Dianne Wilkerson will be here, the former state senator, and she's got a new initiative around reparations. It's called Contemperations, and we'll find out more about that. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more of Talk to the Neighborhoods.
What What do an aerospace engineer, cancer immunologist, and bat scientist all have in common? We all have cool jobs in STEM fields. Whether it's building robots or learning to code, girls everywhere are finding their passion for science, technology, engineering, and math through positive role models and mentors. So dare to dive in, get connected, and explore. You never know what your future may hold. Learn more about these and even more cool jobs at shecanstem.com.
I think it's just vapor with flavor.
It won't hurt my kid like cigarettes, right?
Vaping is safer than smoking, isn't it?
There's really not even that much nicotine in them, right?
My kid?
My kid knows it's dangerous.
Get your head out of the cloud. Today, nearly 8,000 kids will start vaping, maybe even yours. Learn about the dangers at talkaboutvaping.org.
Hey, boss. Okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
You sure?
I said I'm fine.
Since I was little, it was only like me and my parents.
You think you created family out of characters?
Yeah, of course.
I'm gonna take that, make it into a song.
Put me to bed, see you in the morning. With the frosted Superman, but it wasn't on it. And we lost it. In my head, in my head, in my head. Where you at on the way out? In my head, in my head, in my head.
Hey, son.
Hey, Pop.
You can talk to me.
It's been really, really hard for me.
This one's for the real ballers and shot callers, the sisterhood of women in tech. They're discovering cures, building apps, and programming the blockchain. They're CEOs, worldwide hustlers who can make it rain. They're tearing down the old boys club and seeing big gains. 'Cause when women in tech come together, you know they make that change.
It's about safe driving. All right, let's go. Anytime you're driving, have the seatbelt buckled tight. Both hands on the wheel and your phone out of sight. When not in your hand trying to text somebody back. Because if you do, your car might get smacked. The moral of the story, just put your phone down. The people on the road will stay safe and sound. Put your phone down, put your phone down. People on the road will stay safe and sound. Yeah.
All right, we're back with more of Talk of the Neighborhoods tonight, a two-part show, and on this second half, I'm very pleased to have an old friend, a guest that's been on actually several times over the years, and now she is, of course, the founder of the Black Boston COVID-19 Coalition. I want to make sure I got that right.
You did.
Of course, she is a familiar face, as many of you know, former State Senator Dianne Wilkerson, and talking about a new initiative she's launched called Contemporations around reparations. And thanks for coming in and talking with us.
My pleasure. It's good to see you.
Nice to see you.
Good to see you.
Well, first, I got to ask you about your comeback bid, because I know you came up short, but I thought you did very well. And, you know.
So here's the
Were you surprised?
time.
Yeah, I mean.
No, time was our competition.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. I don't regret, and we got in late.
Yeah.
But but I couldn't be in until I was ready.
Yeah.
And so I don't regret it. I'm a public servant at heart, as you know. So it's a matter of just where you sit. But I'm gonna, of course, I've been at it now. We're right out of the fire,
That's
pan,
right.
frying pan into
Yeah,
the fire. Now we're dealing with redistricting.
Right.
And working with the NAACP and watching them kind of do what they really were created to do. You know, it's just it's Boston.
Were you disappointed by the outcome, though, or did you? I mean, you wouldn't have gotten it if you didn't think you could.
Of course.
And I kept talking. We had a show, and I said, you know, she could win. She could come back. I mean, you know, there were 5 candidates in the race, but 4 strong candidates. I think that's fair to say, including you. And
that's right.
Rep. Liz Miranda ended up coming out on top. But how was that attempting to make a comeback like that? It must have been.
Well, I get to talk
do people
about.
remember you?
It was humbling.
Yes.
Because I was prepared to do a whole lot of, you know, kind of the explaining stuff.
Yep.
And people said, I don't want to hear about that. I won't say the word.
Yeah.
I like, you know what you're doing. That's what we need somebody who knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
The sense, I think that didn't change the sense, the reality is that, you know, the neighborhood, the Roxbury, Dorchester, Mattapan, changing every day.
Oh, dramatically.
If it wasn't already kind of in a fragile state, COVID really just tore it apart, I would say, and I know it because I was out there, you know, in the work with the hundreds of volunteers and even staff. We created 130 jobs during COVID, which is something no one else was able to do. But I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah. Do you think, and I mainly want to talk about the future, but do you think the past, the mistakes of the past came back to haunt you on that? No, that wasn't.
It wasn't what people, I think, number one, it's 14 years ago. So people are like, people are like, ah. But I think more important than that, even for folks who talked about that piece, said, you know what, but I'll make mistakes, and the bottom line is, we need someone who knows what to do and can walk in that door and go at it on day one, right? That's what we heard every day. So it was some
tough competition. You had 2 sitting state reps.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
You know, I don't want to take any away.
And the district was redrawn as well.
But it was redrawn for the better, I think.
Was it?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the second Suffolk Senate district for those
in a good
that are
way,
following along. But
it looks more now like it did when I first got there, which I think was a great thing. I mean, I was actually had an opportunity to be involved in the redistricting from the community standpoint, testified in the community hearings, and more importantly, worked with Senator Brownsberger on providing that history and making sure that the lines were drawn consistent with the Voting Rights Act, the 14th Amendment, and we're in that challenge right now. And redrawing the city of Boston's 9 district council.
You've been there, done that. It did result in another Senate district that has a person of color, African American, Black. We're talking about Senator Lydia Edwards from East
that wasn't
Boston.
even from us redistricting. She actually won before the redistricting was done.
That's true.
And it's not because of that piece. There's only 4% blacks in that district. She was able to, and I think this speaks to her talent, but that's her focus. I mean, I don't think anybody should be demanding and pounding the table saying, you got to do black stuff. That's not her district. She's got 4%. She was chosen by a predominantly Italian and Latino community to represent them, and they're going to want what they want. To the extent that some of those things might be consistent with what we need, then fine. But
and I want to talk to you about it because I consider you, pioneer of the whole racial justice movement, modern racial justice movement, I should say, of course. But so much has changed since then, and it has and it hasn't.
So much has changed, and so much has stayed the same, right? I mean, you're right about that. You're right about that for sure.
Who would have thought that a majority of city councilors are people of color and women.
That's what our city looks like.
Right, absolutely. Or Kim Janey, who was an acting mayor, but first African American woman to hold the post. So Michelle Wu, person of color.
That's right. That's right.
So there has been some changes, certainly. But
it's that hurdle. You
yeah.
know what that hurdle is? The economic hurdle is the one that's been the most elusive and the toughest one for us to get over. And by that I mean finding a way that this largely people of color city begins to feel and have access to some of the bounty. I mean, this city, there are cranes everywhere.
Right.
You know?
Contracts,
you know what I mean?
jobs.
I mean, think about it. We literally, you know, not as much has been said about the fact that in the last 10 years, the city of Boston created a whole new neighborhood on the seaport.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Like who they're now asking for police department and fire, and I'm like,
they're not
whoa,
sure where
wait a
they're
minute.
living, but-
Right. You know, I mean, you and I couldn't afford to live there.
No kidding.
But the point is that all of the health indicators, the asthma, diabetes, hypertension, you name it, you know, asthma, which was already
big issue.
every single one of them got worse for Black and Latino people during COVID. And the one that scares me the most is, particularly in the 21st century, you know, Black men lost 2.5 years of life expectancy in Roxbury from 2019 to 2022. So it was 62.
And it wasn't that high to begin with, if I
It was
remember.
62.
Right, so
It's
it's
now
not,
59, and for some, like these are third world country numbers. That's why I'm here. I'm like, I'm not going. We can't. And the good news, we for the first time ever, we actually have the resources to do something about this if there's the will to do it. We have the resources to do it.
Well, and I should say, or at least, you know, I've been watching, like everyone, the new mayor and what her priorities are, and she seems to be addressing or attempting to address some of those, and has brought some people in with some different ideas. I think that'd be fair to say.
Yeah. But here's the bottom line.
Okay.
Do you ever remember in all the time you've been in Boston, at the end of the year, beginning of the year, the Globe story, I can't get the headline out of my head. It said, Massachusetts has a money problem, comma, too much of it. City of Boston has a surplus. And, you know, I would say Wu and Asabi George both ran on this notion. You remember they actually literally in the last 2 weeks of the campaign had dueling plans for Black residents of Boston.
Yes.
Who's going to give them the most, and who's going to build the most housing, and who's going to, and you know,
I guess
and
we
so
know who's
like,
going to decide who won.
yeah, well, I have a good memory.
Yeah, well.
And my plan is to hold people to it. And that's really what this conversation is about, you know.
Was that the germ of this contemporations?
No,
or
we started well before COVID.
Okay, yeah.
We started right after the
And
2000.
viewers explain it. Because
So right after the 2015 Color of Wealth report, a lot of people just kind of figuring out, but at the huge meeting in Prince Hall in November of 2015, because I did part of that presentation, I did the presentation about the $8 average Black family wealth in the city of Boston. And so it really has started this conversation about what wealth is. And so this project, I literally have been working on, the project really has been talking with people about, one, the understanding of what wealth is, economic development, and how do we move this? We started when we didn't have any money. I'm like excited right now because I do think that if we can get the attention of the right people, which is on the state level, the governor, we have a new governor, we have a legislature, we have you know, a Senate president and a speaker who I think have been probably more receptive to this conversation than any of their predecessors. It's been amazing to watch them even during COVID in their conversations. But here's the bottom line is that Blacks now occupy the worst in every health measure that we have, right? Our children walked into COVID already with a sizable racial achievement gap in BP, Boston Public Schools.
Much worse.
And it got worse during COVID, right? We were struggling. We struggled to try to recover from the 2008 recession where like 40% of black homeowners around the country lost their homes. We just get back, COVID hits, we go from 32% in Boston to 28%. So we're back there. And so part of my whole pitch and talking with folks is now, here's the position, the argument that I make. I'm going to leave to the folks who are fighting the fight, the 400 years fight, the 200 years fight about reparations. Contemporations really is contemporary repair for what's happened in Boston in the last 50 years. And I'm telling you, it's a compelling, powerful story that involved history, late 60s, early 70s. The Commonwealth of Massachusetts, the city of Boston, came up with this harebrained plan, separate from I-95, right? But their plan was to redesign Roxbury and Dorchester, Roxbury. That plan became, the plan became known as B-Burg. And Larry Harmon, in fact, wrote about this in this
from
book,
the Globe,
right?
Globe,
with Hillel Levine from Harvard, The Death of American Jewish Community. Carolyn Crockett has written about this. But it's time to turn that into some action. So here's the bottom line. 5,000 homeowners, black homeowners in Roxbury, 2- and 3-family homes, as many as 15,000 units, were leveled under this Bieber, leveled, like bulldozed. The federal government, HUD, what was our BRA?
Right. This is
aside
from the redlining.
Aside from the redlining, those who had it, our commercial area, they tore them down. And here was their harebrained plan, was to move all the black folks who could buy a house to Mattapan, because there was now that Jewish migration to Brookline and Newton. And so they redlined Mattapan, became the only neighborhood you could buy a house in, right? Royal Bowling Sr., in fact, came to fame because he was the one who led that fight in the city council to stop the block busting. But in Roxbury, this is our Tulsa. This wasn't 100 years ago, right? The Commonwealth of Massachusetts, the state legislature, capitalized the Boston 5-cent Savings Bank to pay we capitalized the bank that ended up helping to destroy the whole neighborhood. You know what that bank is today?
What is it?
New York Mellon Bank.
Oh my God. Well, let's
so
see.
You know I have their address, right?
And what's that worth? Now, and we'll get into just the particulars a little bit, but you know, when you say reparations, it's like, for a lot of people, it's like touching.
That's why I don't.
The third rail.
That's why I don't.
Yeah.
I think that there is a fight, you know, that's going on right now.
That's a national.
So here's my argument is that the combination of the leveling of the 5,000 plus black homes in the early 70s, the participation of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts in capitalizing this, the city of Boston, the BRA, right? This was their plan. Right. Like, this was their plan. They replaced. This was Loeb. And guess who they recruited? The brains came from Harvard University. Harvard loaned them 3 of their brains to help come up with this plan, right? So we all know what they just did. They just did this big mea culpa over the summer where, remember, this is the love it. Remember the morning? Oh, the breaking news, Harvard acknowledges its role in slavery, right? Oh, and then 1 hour later, Howard announced their own punishment. Where do you do that? We set up a fund, so it's all fun already. No, not so fast. Not so fast. So
so the bottom line,
education.
The community is owed, in your mind.
The community is documented owed. This is, I don't have, you know, this is not, well, what do I have to do with it? I wasn't alive. Oh, actually, some of the players still were, right? So, black and Latino businesses, black home ownership was destroyed because of the actions of the city and state government. And we can put a number to that, you know? So we have a whole black business fund. We have a black and Latino, we have a black and Latino business fund. We have a black home ownership fund because we've never recovered from that. Never recovered from it. We have the health equities fund. that is going to be designed, and by the way, every single one of the categories, I identify who's going to pay for this. This is the hospitals, and they don't even have to borrow it.
Right.
That's the whole point of Obamacare.
So, and explain it for our viewers. So what you're talking about is creating these funds or funding these funds that are already exist to you know, whether it's build housing, whether it's to address housing inequities.
Directly, home ownership for black and Latino businesses, because together we've suffered. This is 2019, remember. The city of Boston spent 1.5%, right?
Well, and how much, what are we talking about? What would be the price tag for something
It's a $10 billion plan.
$10 billion?
$10 billion plan.
Wow.
And like I said, every single one of them, I identify where the money's coming from, so you don't have to figure it out.
And the money's there?
Oh, yeah, we have surplus money in the city right now for education.
Yeah.
We have to come up with a plan to close this racial achievement gap. I call it the McGuire-O'Brien-Batson Achievement Gap Fund, right?
Poor Jean.
I saw her yesterday.
Oh my
She's in good
God.
spirits.
You know, what a
So,
terrible story.
so for that, and what it is going to require is our kids, and I think the parents are going to love it. Our kids are going to have to be in school year-round for the next 2 or 3 years to make up for the 3 years they lost.
Probably.
And we're going to pay for it with the money we got for COVID education, right?
Well, and the state, my God, they got to give money back.
Here's the one
under,
that I'm
under the law.
most excited. We do have one that is a payment. So every black resident in the city of Boston will get a $15,000 first time. And I'm saying first time. It's not a lot, but we took a beating during COVID, right? This I can document
and so this
it.
would be towards to buy a home?
Whatever they whatever they want.
Education
This is
or
the
whatever,
this is the repair, and this is the compensation piece.
And who
Black
did that
residents.
come from?
See my plan, and we could talk about that. Yeah,
Well-
but it is the state who financed the destruction of Roxbury. Who, by the way, did you hear? They have money.
Yeah, well, I heard they got a lot of money. Is what I'm hearing.
We've got some
and
law
it
firms.
might have even more if the question one passes.
They're going to hate me because I'm going to tell you. Also, we have law firms that are going to be on the hook. Did you know that 2 of Boston's most storied law firms helped the BRA draft this plan to destroy Roxbury? Foley, Hoig, and Elliott and Ropes and Gray.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, we'll be knocking on their doors.
Two biggest. Now, what's been the reaction? We've got just a few minutes left.
We had 80 people that showed up to the meeting. Now they're saying like, okay, what's next? What are we going to do next? What are we going to do next?
And did I hear that you briefed the Black Caucus? Is it the Congressional Black
No.
Caucus?
Here. This
the
is
state-
solely Boston.
This is solely
We've started
Boston.
the conversation with them.
This is not a
Right.
national thing. I mean, there's
No,
stuff going on
this is
nationally.
Boston, and we can make the case. The word contemporation, so people saying, "Ooh, that sounds different." It's new. I tell people that it's a plan.
Contemporary,
The plan's so bold, we had to make up a new word to describe it. Right? It took a coordinated set of actions and policy from state, public, private sector to get us into this mess. Contemporations is going to require a coordinated set of public and private responses to redress the systematic social and economic disadvantages inflicted upon black communities from the 1960s to the present. And by the way, we think this is replicable. This same thing happened in other urban cities where you've got house poor, you know.
You're going to make some people angry. You ready for that?
Me?
I
can't do that.
But, you know, a lot of people,
The response
people
has
would say,
been-
she's got a lot of nerve, you know?
I do, and they'd be right, because I do.
And you always did. you know,
And here's the thing, the response has been, wait a minute, that makes sense. Part of it is I'm educating, and here's what I'm doing. I'm using the history that was taught to us that we know. I mean, in fact, the death of American Jewish community, Carolyn Crockett's book also, right? That's where those are facts, names, dates.
Next steps.
So we're
That
going to
just
start with
like a-
healthcare.
Yeah.
And so we are talking with the City of Boston's Public Health Commission about them convening a meeting with the leadership of our hospitals, because they have, by Obamacare requires that every one of our healthcare institutions that participate in billing the federal government must give away in grants 3% of their annual revenue every year to the community for community good.
Yeah.
Guess what?
Have they been doing it? I doubt
You
it.
don't even want to hear what, you don't want to know what they've been doing with the money, but here's what I will tell you.
Okay.
So Mass General Brigham, their annual revenue for 2021 was $16.5 billion, which means in 2022 they must give away $480 million. How about we use it to fix healthcare equities?
There you go. There's plenty to address. Unfortunately, we're out of time tonight.
It's
As
so
always,
good to be here.
I enjoy, as always, talking to now former State Senator
That's
Dianne
right.
Wilkerson, and she is now she's the founder of
And we're phasing out and phasing Black Boston COVID-19 Coalition.
Right.
Yeah,
And,
we raised $3.5 million during
God
COVID
bless.
to make sure that our folks got tested and gift cards, and we're able to buy gas.